Hello and welcome to Japanesey. Today I'm looking at two derivatives of the humble soybean, bean curd and soy sauce. I've been to Oriental City, which specialises in Far Eastern food, but now I've come to my local Sainsbury's to see if I can pick up these ingredients just in the high street. Look, we've got shiitake mushrooms and then these rather strange enoki ones. Gosh, look at this. Yofu, organic soybean product. Now, if we're near Yofu, I'm sure I can find some tofu. Now, here's what I'm looking for, the tofu. We seem to have three different sorts. We've got some marinated tofu pieces, some naturally smoked tofu, but what I'm going to need later on is just the simple soybean curd, the plain natural tofu. So I'm going to get a couple of those in my basket. Well, now I'm going to buy some soy sauce, but there's so many to choose from that I've enlisted the help of Mr. Bingyu Lee.
Hello.
Hello. Now then, what I thought I might do is start by tasting some of them to see if I can tell the difference, and you can tell me how it's made.
Okay.
This one is a regular dark soy sauce, which I think is a Chinese soy sauce.
Yes, it is.
It's very reasonably priced at 59p.
Yeah,
so
please try it.
I will do.
I believe your tongue will feel very harsh.
It's overwhelmingly salty.
Less the flavor and aroma, I believe.
Very, very salty and bitter.
Yeah.
No, the kikkoman is the Japanese one here.
Please try this one.
It's
more than naturally brewed soy sauce.
It's more than double the price of the other one, so I'm hoping it's going to taste very much better. Oops.
I suggest you before your taste, please smelling it. It's very beautiful aroma.
It's a very much nicer smell. I've never thought of smelling soy sauce.
I think although that is a salty seasoning, however, at the same time you can feel very mild.
That bitter taste.
Yeah.
Well, this does taste very much better, but it's twice the price. So perhaps you can tell me why it is that the kikkoman is much nicer than the first one I tasted.
The main difference between these two types of soy sauce is this one is totally naturally fermented, only with the ingredients of soybeans, wheat, salt, and water. That's it. And it took around half a year for fermentation.
Oh, so it's about 6 months to make this sauce.
And without any artificial flavoring, coloring, or any preservative.
Okay. How long will it take to make one of these less expensive ones?
And to be honest, I'm not sure enough, but I believe it should be less than a month.
It's weeks.
Might be, or using some artificial hydrolyzed protein or something.
Well, thank you. That was very interesting. So you recommend, and I will take a couple of bottles of this kikkoman.
Please enjoy it.
And then there's a couple of these bottles of another Japanese soy sauce here for my cooking. Thank you for meeting me today and explaining everything.
No problem.
To me.
Please
Bye-bye.
enjoy. Thanks.
Well, I'm here at Sushi Say in Willesden in North London, where Yuko has kindly offered to tell me everything she knows about bean curd. Hello, Yuki.
Hello, Thane.
Bean curd, I mean, I see it in the supermarkets and I'm always a little tentative about it because I'm never quite sure. It seems sort of healthy and good for you, but I don't know much about it. Is it widely eaten in Japan?
Yes, it is.
So you eat it every day?
Well, depends on the person, of course, but most Japanese will eat tofu at least a few times a week, I would say.
And do you eat it with meat or instead of meat?
Instead of meat in general.
So is it a meat substitute?
Indeed, it has got a lot of protein in it.
I noticed that on the top of our tofu here we've got on the table, one says soft and one firm. Is there really a difference?
This is momen tofu, the regular kind.
Okay.
And this is kinugoshi tofu with a much finer texture. Because tofu is made from the liquid of boiled soybeans and then are coagulated with bittern. It's called nigari, and then curd is formed and cut into blocks later.
So it's a bit like making cheese then?
Yes, very
from
similar.
Milk. So you've got the soy milk,
sense.
which is then gets the curd, and the curd is then shaped.
Right, indeed. And the difference here, the main difference, when you strain the soybeans, this one is much more, finer strainer to be used. And this is coarse as a result, because of the difference of the strainer.
Okay, and so how does that difference relate to the way you cook it? Do you cook them in the same way, or have you got a different method for each?
Right. Actually, this kinugoshi tofu is good. It is itself, so it's good when done. And so in summer, especially, people like to have this as it is with the soy sauce.
Oh, right. So just out of the packet.
Yes.
Hey, that is a recipe I can definitely do. Out of the packet, into the mouth. No
Very
problem
fresh.
at all.
Yes.
And this one?
This is used mainly for cooking, either fried or grilled, or even cooked in sauce.
Excellent. Tofu hot pot. For this, we're going to use the silken tofu, which is the soft one, thick yam noodles, shiitake mushrooms, carrot, spring onion, Chinese leaf, light soy sauce, mirin, and remember, the dashi. This is a big pot of dashi, which is the instant bonito stock. Right, chef, off you go. Ingredients. So it's 4 ladles of the water. Mirin, just refresh my mind as to what mirin is.
It's sweet rice wine.
Sweet rice wine. Thank you. 1 of the mirin. Would you ever drink it, or is it only used for cooking?
For cooking only.
For cooking only. Is it anything like sake?
Yes, very much like sake, yeah.
Okay. And then, so we've got half of the light soy. And this is making the soup or the stock, isn't it, too?
True.
And just a very little, a tiny teens of dashi. Good. When would you eat this sort of dish? Is it?
It's nice in winter.
It's nice in winter.
To say.
Yes, but it's a family dish, or would you eat it in a restaurant?
Oh, it is a family dish.
Right. Okay. It's a very, very effective way of peeling a carrot that I have never ever come across before. I always peel, sort of. But then you get yes, it's excellent. And again, the presentation of the vegetables in the dish looks it's wonderful.
Nice to the eyes.
Very nice to the eyes. That's good. Oops. And now we have to drain. Again, we're draining this. Now, this is the soft tofu, or tofu, as I have to learn. So I want to see the difference in the texture of this one. Ah, yes. May I? It's a very different. The other one had a lot of holes in. The firm tofu has many more holes, and this is actually quite difficult to hold. I wouldn't want to have to cast oil. You must have to cook it very gently, I would think, or else it would break up.
That's right, yes.
It's going to be fun trying to eat this one with chopsticks, I think. And then in go the yam noodles. Again, all beautifully presented. Onto the stove. Okay, right. Does the soup go on now?
Yep.
Yep, okay, on with the stock.
Good call.
Gosh, this is quite extraordinary. I don't think I've ever seen anything cooked in quite this fashion before. Right, okay. Excellent. Oh, lovely.
Yep.
And now we're just going to put this on the stove for 5 to 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Right, well, it's 7 minutes later and we've got it off the stove. Oh, God. That looks so good. Everything's really excellent. So this is tofu hot pot.
Next dish is tofu steak.
Tofu steaky. And I'm assured that that's the Japanese for this dish. Okay, tofu, firm tofu again, but this time we're going to press it to make it more meat-like. And so this little contraption here is actually just a weight that's made by some water and a couple of boards, because underneath all of this is a cloth, again, to drain the liquid. And my drained tofu, now I don't know whether you can see this, but the tofu was exactly the same size as this, and it's been reduced to about half its height. So it's got much firmer density, so it's obviously going to be much more like meat. These are some prepared vegetables. We've got carrot, that was carrot, This one is green pepper and onion and bean sprouts, which I think are going to be stir-fried with the pan-fried tofu. And then to add that essential Japanese flavour, we've got here something that we've seen in an earlier programme, teriyaki sauce. Again, mirin, soy and sugar cooked down until it's very thick. So what's happening now is we're just browning up the tofu. And once Katsu has turned it, there you go, I think we brown the other side and then we start putting on the sauce. Do we later?
Later.
Later. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. The teriyaki sauce goes on a bit later. And so this will taste a little like a piece of chicken teriyaki, perhaps.
Maybe.
Maybe. We don't see...
Different taste.
Bit different. But it won't taste like beef teriyaki. But it'll taste like tofu teriyaki, I guess. Right, and this is sake. Right. Oh. A bit of worry with the long sleeve there, did you notice, in the flames? I thought we might have a roasted chef, right? And this is the vegetables. Okay. So the lid's gone on there and the vegetables have gone in that little pan. And these are just going to cook down. Are these cooking chopsticks?
Yes.
Especially for the kitchen? Yeah, rather than eating ones. They're very good. But I think we probably have to learn at birth how to use them. I think I'm going to stick to spoons for a while. And they're just stir frying this. Any seasoning?
Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. And this is
A little bit soy sauce.
A little bit of soy sauce. Is this English pepper or Japanese pepper?
I think English pepper.
English pepper. Okay. No, I just thought I'd ask. You know, could be more exciting. Right. Okay. The soy sauce. I'm longing to see what's happening in this one. How are we doing?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Good? Ooh. Smells nice. Right. Now this is on with the teriyaki sauce. Wow. It's quite a... And whack up the heat at this stage. These are all frying nicely. We've got some crisp fried vegetables, and again, so we're going to have a nice contrast of textures. Those are done, right?
Yep.
Onto that one. And it's getting even more concentrated, and I think it's going over again now. Oops. Watch out for the dry cleaning bills. Ah, the sizzle platter. So it'll all be sizzling on that, and it'll be served on us at the table.
Yes.
Right. Oh, very good. Exactly the right amount of vegetables. It does smell very savoury now. It's almost becoming lacquered with the teriyaki sauce. Woohoo! So there it is,
Tofu steak.
as they say in Japanese. Well, I've got my food, and so you're just going to have to join me after the break. Welcome back. Now I'm going to show you a couple of my own bean curd dishes. The first one's going to be crab and tofu dumplings. And for this, I'm going to use some of the bean curd that we bought at Sainsbury's earlier on. When you open the packet, it just looks like this. All you do is cut away the polythene, drain off the liquid, and then chop it up. And you've got this quite sort of rubbery, textured material here. It does take a little while to learn to love bean curd, but you can do it. I promise you. I'm just going to rub it through a sieve. This is just to sort of get it all the same texture as the crab. I'm using tinned white crab meat, which again I've drained quite well. And you could use frozen crab meat, which I think's got more flavour, but I couldn't find any. And the tinned crab meat works perfectly. Right, now this is nearly all through now, as you can see. Just scrape it off the bottom of my sieve. I've got quite a fine sieve here. It doesn't have to be this fine, but There you go. And I'm going to add the crab meat, just the drained white crab meat. And then my seasonings, which are some soy sauce, Japanese soy sauce in there. A little bit of salt, because although I've put the soy sauce in, tofu and the crab meat is quite bland, so a little salt. An egg yolk to bind the mixture. Some flour to add a little stability to the whole thing. Some finely sliced onion. And then we need some grated fresh ginger. And because I've started sort of showing you these extraordinary Japanese gadgets, this one is my ginger grater. I thought I'd show you this one today. And you peel the ginger, this is a big ginger root there, and just rub it on here, like this. And this is a much easier way of grating ginger than trying to do it with a cheese grater. It catches all the fibres, you see, and so you can just take your chopsticks and pull it off like that. What you could do is you could also just add a little bit of water and wash the ginger off, and that works quite well too. If you want ginger juice, that's another very good way of doing it. Right, so that's all done there. And then I'm just going to mix until I've got this nice homogeneous mixture and all the flavours blend in together. Right, now that my fat's nice and hot, I'm just going to pop in my little bits of dumpling. I'll put about 6 or 8 in here. And they take about a minute to cook, because once they're hot all the way through and the egg yolk's cooked, you'll be fine. The Japanese are quite interesting about egg yolk because they use egg yolk, raw egg yolk, as a dipping sauce for an awful lot of their dishes. But it's something I haven't been able to develop a taste for myself. Here we are, you see? Very simple, very easy, very quick. It is the thing that I've grown to like about cooking Japanese food, is that it does seem to be very, very quick. And in this modern world of quick cooking, that's quite a plus. And then just drain them for a moment. They're a little bit fragile, so treat them gently. Pop them on your plate. And there you have it, Japanese crab and tofu dumplings. Before I show you my final dish, you might remember that in the first programme we visited Wagamama. I enjoyed the food so much that I went back and asked Adrian, the head chef, to prepare me a simple bean curd dish from their menu.
Okay, what I'm going to make for you here is a dish called Agedashi Tofu, which is quite a simple dish. We're going to be using firm tofu. Okay, first of all, we have to coat the tofu in a little bit of corn flour. Just coat it, make sure it's completely covered. This will stop any oil when we deep fry in penetrating the tofu, and it also gives a very, very light, crispy coating. Okay, the tofu, once completely coated, can go into hot oil. This oil we're using is about 180 degrees, that's Celsius. And that'll be cooked for around 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, I think this tofu is now ready. Yes, it is. It's nice, crispy. It's got a slight golden colour to it. Just gonna let that drain for a couple of seconds. It doesn't need to go on paper. If you can see, it's got a nice little crispy coating on that. We have a grated white radish. Just make a little mountain on top. A little bit of the grated fresh ginger. A few of the spring onions over the top for flavour. Now we're going to use a classical Agedashi sauce, which is made from kombu leaf, which is lava, seaweed. This is soy sauce, sugar and a little bit of water. This goes over the side. And then the piece de resistance, just a few seaweed strands. There we have Agedashi Tofu.
Tea smoking. This is another Japanese form of cooking. Often you have tea smoked salmon for breakfast with a little bowl of miso soup if you're in Japan and some sticky rice. Here I'm going to tea smoke some tofu. In my bowl I've got some sliced tofu, which is in the marinade of mirin, soy and freshly grated ginger. I'm going to put my smoking ingredients, which are here, sugar, rice and tea leaves. These are just ordinary tea leaves. You don't have to have anything special. It's the flavour of the tea rather than the fact that it's lapsang souchong that is important. A wok lined with foil because it will get rather messy, and this way you can just tip it all away. In goes the tea and the rice and the sugar. You'll only get the flavour of the tea. The other ingredients are there to give lots and lots of smoke. Okay, and I've got this rather nifty little rack here. You don't have to have this. You could use a bit of chicken wire if you wanted to. And then you just lift your tofu, out of the marinade and lie it on the rack. Very simple. So it's on with the lid, like that. Oops. Get it settled down really well because you don't want the smoke to escape into the kitchen. And then pack a cloth around the top here. Again, we're trying to keep all this smoke in the pan. And while that heats up, and you need to smoke it for about 7 minutes because you've got to get a lot of heat to start the whole thing going, and then you've got to let the tofu sit in the smoke for it to get the flavour. So while that works, I'm going to make my dipping sauce to go with this. And for the dipping sauce, I'm going to show you an ingredient that I haven't used in the kitchen before, and that's miso. It looks a bit like peanut butter, but this is miso, and it's bean curd paste. So this is bean curd tofu, marinated in bean sauce with a bean curd paste. It's a bit beany, this recipe, but all these layers of flavour come from the fact that the Japanese use an awful lot of beans. Japanese cuisine is very seasonal and very much about what you can get from the countryside. And if you lived in the hills, very little meat, very little fish, and so lots and lots of beans. So this is miso in here, and then this is some sugar. It'll come to no surprise to you by now to know that we're going to use miso, sugar, mirin, and some sherry. No soy in this because the bean curd, the miso acts as the sort of soy in the recipe. And we're just going to mix this up until it's smooth. Now then, you might prefer to do this outside because it is really rather smoky. Oh, that wasn't as bad as it sometimes can be, but I tell you, the whole house will smell of smoke, and you've got this very, very delicious, gets in your eyes, like the song says. You can see crying with delight at how wonderful this tofu is. Again, a very Japanese dish, really very, very simple flavours, nothing too complicated, no rich sauces, no complicated braising, just a very quick, simple, clean, almost elegant dish. So, if you ever thought bean curd was boring, I hope you're converted. I know I am. See you next time.